Part 4 of Crime and Punishment delves deeper into the complexities of Raskolnikov's psyche and his interactions with key figures like Svidrigailov and Luzhin. Amidst his internal struggle with guilt and isolation, Raskolnikov confronts the consequences of his crime, further entangling himself in moral and philosophical dilemmas. Sonya's presence begins to crystallize as a beacon of hope and moral clarity, offering a stark contrast to Raskolnikov's troubled mind. This part of the narrative accentuates the clash between nihilistic despair and the potential for redemption, setting the stage for Raskolnikov's tumultuous journey towards self-realization and penance. As the plot thickens, Dostoevsky masterfully explores themes of sin, morality, and the quest for salvation in a world fraught with existential angst. Raskolnikov is surprised by the sudden arrival of Svidrigailov, who expresses a desire to meet him, citing curiosity and a potential role in assisting Raskolnikov's sister, Dunja. Svidrigailov discusses his past actions and justifies his behavior, revealing his complex personality and hinting at his interest in Dunja. The conversation turns to the mysterious circumstances surrounding Marfa Petrovna's death, with Svidrigailov defending himself against any wrongdoing. Throughout the encounter, Raskolnikov feels uneasy and skeptical about Svidrigailov's motives, reflecting his own paranoia and distrust. Svidrigailov proposes to assist Dunja in breaking off her engagement with Luzhin by offering her financial support, a suggestion that Raskolnikov finds absurd and offensive. Svidrigailov's sudden appearance in Raskolnikov's life is a pivotal moment that accelerates his psychological unraveling. This encounter not only deepens the narrative's complexity, but also symbolizes the intrusion of the past into the present, further complicating Raskolnikov's moral and psychological turmoil. Svidrigailov represents a morally ambiguous figure, contrasting sharply with Raskolnikov's tortured conscience. His justifications and rationalizations of his past behaviors echo Raskolnikov's own attempts to rationalize his crime, highlighting the novel's exploration of moral ambiguity and the human capacity for self-deception. The uncertainty surrounding Marfa Petrovna's demise introduces a haunting element of guilt and speculation. This aspect of the story deepens the novel's exploration of the themes of death and conscience, suggesting the pervasive influence of unseen, unresolved past actions on the present. Raskolnikov's discomfort and suspicion during the meeting with Svidrigailov underscore his deteriorating mental state. This moment serves as a stark reminder of his profound disconnection from reality and his inability to reconcile his idealistic self-image with his actions. Svidrigailov's proposition to assist Dunja financially raises questions about the nature of altruism and self-interest. His character challenges the reader to consider the fine line between benevolence and manipulation, reflecting Dostoevsky's interest in the complexities and contradictions inherent in human motivations and relationships. Raskolnikov, worried about his mental state, confirms with Razumikin that Svidrigailov was indeed at his apartment, to ensure he's not hallucinating. Razumikin shares details of a dinner with Porfiry and Zamyotov, where Raskolnikov's potential involvement in the murder was discussed, but Razumikin remains confident of Raskolnikov's innocence. The conversation shifts to Svidrigailov's questionable past and Marfa Petrovna's death. Dunja learns of Svidrigailov's arrival in Petersburg and his murky history, including suspicions regarding Marfa's death and his servant's suicide. Luzhin criticizes Raskolnikov's behavior and asserts his superior position, causing tension. Dunja demands reconciliation between her brother and fiancé, but disagreements escalate over Luzhin's views and his manipulative control. Luzhin's insinuations about Dunja's character and his desire for control lead to a heated argument, resulting in Dunja ending their engagement and ordering Luzhin to leave. Raskolnikov's questioning of his own sanity upon encountering Svidrigailov reflects his deepening psychological turmoil. This self-doubt is emblematic of his fragmented psyche, torn between his criminal actions and moral conscience. Razumikin's struggle to maintain faith in Raskolnikov's innocence despite growing doubts underscores the theme of loyalty versus truth. His internal conflict represents the moral conundrums faced by individuals when confronted with the potential guilt of loved ones. Dunya's unwavering loyalty to both Raskolnikov and Luzhin, even in the face of conflicting obligations, highlights her strength of character. Her nobility contrasts with Raskolnikov's moral ambiguity, showcasing the resilience of human dignity in adverse situations. Raskolnikov's shift in attitude towards Sonya from indifference to active defense marks a significant development in his character. This change signifies his growing empathy and recognition of shared humanity, even with those society deems fallen. The dissolution of Dunya and Luzhin's engagement is a pivotal moment that highlights the divergent paths of the characters. Dunya's decisive action signifies her independence and rejection of manipulation, while Luzhin's inability to accept the situation reveals his delusional self-perception and arrogance. Luzhin is deeply shaken by the family's rejection and views Svidrigailov as a significant threat to his plans with Dunya, highlighting his insecurities and manipulative nature. Dunya's apology to her family reflects her realization of Luzhin's true character, while the family, especially Pulcheria, shows relief and optimism about Dunya's future. Raskolnikov's decision to distance himself from the family, coupled with revealing Svidrigailov's monetary offer to Dunya, underscores his internal conflict and detachment. Razumikin's promise to protect the family and his business idea with Dunya's inheritance reflects his deepening commitment and desire to support the family. Raskolnikov's vague and ominous farewell, along with Razumikin's reaction, hints at a deeper unspoken understanding between the two men, suggesting a troubling undercurrent to Raskolnikov's actions. Luzhin's shock at not being seen as a benefactor illustrates his egocentric worldview and his inability to understand the moral principles guiding Dunya and her family. His fear of Svidrigailov signals a deep-seated insecurity about his own position and the fragility of his control. Dunya's regret over her engagement to Luzhin, coupled with her family's concern for her well-being, highlights the theme of moral integrity prevailing over materialistic considerations. This moment also sets the stage for Razumikin's growing role in the family's life. Raskolnikov's attempt to distance himself from his family underlines his internal turmoil and growing alienation. Svidrigailov's proposition introduces new complexities, bringing into question his motivations and the potential consequences for Dunya. Razumikin's active involvement in protecting the family and his business proposition symbolize a beacon of hope and pragmatism. His approach contrasts sharply with Raskolnikov's introspective and troubled demeanor, highlighting different paths in the face of adversity. Raskolnikov's abrupt and ominous departure and Razumikin's shocked reaction deepen the novel's psychological complexity. This moment underscores the unspoken understanding of Raskolnikov's inner conflict, augmenting the suspense and mystery surrounding his character. Raskolnikov arrives at Sonya's sparse and poorly furnished room, a stark representation of her impoverished life. His visit is unexpected, causing Sonya significant distress and confusion. Both Sonya and Raskolnikov are engulfed in complex emotions. Sonya is visibly shaken and overwhelmed, while Raskolnikov exhibits a mix of tenderness, guilt, and internal conflict. The exchange between Sonya and Raskolnikov reveals deep insights into their lives, struggles, and moral dilemmas. Sonya's devotion to Katerina Ivanovna and her family's plight is especially highlighted. Raskolnikov ponders over Sonya's enduring purity and resilience despite her circumstances. Sonya's faith and her reading about Lazarus from the New Testament underscore a critical spiritual dimension to their interaction. The chapter concludes with Raskolnikov making a cryptic and dramatic departure, leaving Sonya in a state of shock and confusion. Unbeknownst to them, Svidrigailov has been secretly listening to their conversation, adding another layer of complexity to the narrative. Raskolnikov's visit to Sonya symbolizes his search for moral and emotional anchorage in a life rapidly spiraling out of control. His choice to seek Sonya, amidst his turmoil, underscores her role as a spiritual and moral compass in the narrative, highlighting a potential path towards redemption. Sonya's profound reaction to Raskolnikov's visit reflects the depth of her empathy and understanding of his tormented state. Her emotional turmoil signifies her deep connection to Raskolnikov, positioning her as a pivotal figure in his journey towards self-realization and redemption. The palpable tension between Raskolnikov and Sonya during their encounter mirrors Raskolnikov's internal struggle between his nihilistic beliefs and the emerging realization of his need for spiritual salvation, embodied by Sonya's compassionate presence. The scene of Sonya reading the Lazarus story to Raskolnikov after he asks her to do so marks a pivotal moment in his journey towards self-awareness and redemption. It symbolizes the possibility of spiritual resurrection for Raskolnikov, emphasizing the theme of redemption through suffering, a motif introduced by Marmeladov's sermon and echoed here. This moment serves as a critical nexus in the narrative, where Dostoevsky intertwines the existential with the spiritual, challenging Raskolnikov to confront his guilt and contemplate the path to atonement. Svidrigailov's secretive eavesdropping adds a sinister layer to the narrative, hinting at his potential influence on future events. His hidden presence during this crucial interaction between Raskolnikov and Sonya foreshadows the complex entanglements and consequences that are to unfold. Raskolnikov visits the police station, anticipating immediate arrest or confrontation, but is surprised by the casual indifference of those present and begins to doubt the gravity of his situation. Porfiry Petrovitch, alone in his office, greets Raskolnikov with a disarming and seemingly distracted manner, which unnerves Raskolnikov and heightens his suspicion and paranoia. The conversation between Raskolnikov and Porfiry is fraught with psychological gamesmanship, as Porfiry's seemingly random and trivial talk masks deeper probing, exacerbating Raskolnikov's inner turmoil and confusion. Raskolnikov confronts Porfiry about whether he is under suspicion of murder, only to be met with evasive humor and non-answers, revealing Porfiry's awareness of Raskolnikov's recent behaviors. The chapter culminates in a tense and ambiguous climax where Raskolnikov, driven to near hysteria by Porfiry's manipulations and insinuations, demands clarity on his standing while Porfiry maintains his cryptic demeanor. Porfiry's approach in the interrogation is masterful. By evading direct confrontation about the murders, he keeps Raskolnikov off balance. This strategy not only frustrates Raskolnikov but also pushes him towards a breaking point, compelling him to demand a clear accusation or release. Porfiry's free-flowing conversation can be seen as a reflection of the novel's structure. Much like Raskolnikov's wandering through St. Petersburg, the narrative takes a meandering path, delving deep into psychological complexities rather than following a straightforward plot. Porfiry's ultimate goal is to extract a confession from Raskolnikov. He believes that by psychologically agitating Raskolnikov, he can force an admission of guilt. The evidence against Raskolnikov is currently based on psychological analysis rather than hard facts, but Porfiry is confident in his method. Porfiry subtly reveals his awareness of Raskolnikov's suspicious actions, including his fainting spell and his discussions about the crime. These acknowledgments point to Raskolnikov's deep involvement in the crime, reinforcing the idea that his guilt is more than just a conjecture. Raskolnikov's insistence on his sanity during the crime challenges the narrative of him being a madman. Porfiry cleverly uses this admission to corner Raskolnikov, implying that his actions were calculated and deliberate. The chapter sets the stage for a revelation that Porfiry believes will compel Raskolnikov to confess, while Raskolnikov remains defiant in the face of potential witnesses. Nikolai, a young man, bursts into Porfiry Petrovitch's office, interrupting Raskolnikov's departure and shockingly confesses to the murders of Alyona Ivanovna and her sister, claiming he acted alone and in a state of mental darkness. Porfiry, visibly thrown off by this sudden confession, questions Nikolai, who insists on his sole guilt and mentions his attempt to mislead the investigation earlier. Porfiry's reaction suggests skepticism about Nikolai's claims. Raskolnikov watches the confession unfold, perplexed and uncertain about its implications for his own situation. His confusion is palpable as Porfiry, equally surprised, hastily ushers him out of the office. After leaving Porfiry's office, Raskolnikov encounters the tradesman from his previous visit to the police station, who reveals his involvement in reporting Raskolnikov's suspicious behavior and apologizes for his actions, adding to Raskolnikov's complex emotional state. Raskolnikov reflects on the day's events, realizing the precariousness of his situation and the duplicity of all involved. Despite feeling momentarily disheartened, he reaffirms his determination to continue his struggle. Raskolnikov's feigned shock at Nikolai's confession exemplifies his skillful deception. Despite being the true perpetrator, he must mask his relief and surprise, navigating the complexity of appearing innocent. Porfiry, in turn, maintains his guise of suspecting Raskolnikov, creating a tense atmosphere of unspoken truths and hidden agendas. The abrupt confession by Nikolai brings about a shift in Raskolnikov's mindset. Initially resigned to his fate, he finds a glimmer of hope in evading conviction, particularly due to the lack of concrete evidence against him. This oscillation between despair and hope underscores his psychological instability and his desperate clinging to the possibility of escaping justice. The tradesman's apology to Raskolnikov presents a stark contrast to the ongoing deceit. Unaware of the true circumstances, his act of sincerity and remorse stands out as a genuine human connection amidst the web of lies and manipulation, highlighting the rarity of such honesty in the narrative. Raskolnikov's realization of the two-sided nature of psychological evidence reflects his understanding of the subjective interpretation of actions and reactions. He recognizes that his fainting at the police station could be construed either as guilt or as a natural response to a horrific narrative, illustrating the complexity of human behavior and its interpretation. The entire scenario unfolds like a strategic game, with each character playing their part and withholding their true intentions. Porfiry's manipulation of Nikolai, the tradesman's unexpected involvement, and Raskolnikov's internal struggle all contribute to a suspenseful narrative, where truth and deception are constantly at odds. Today, we'll explore the novel not just through its text, but through the lens of network analysis, a unique approach that reveals the hidden dynamics between characters, all thanks to Chloe Kitzinger in the book Approaches to Teaching Dostoyevsky's Crime and Punishment, edited by Michael R. Katz and Alexander Burry. Let's turn our attention to these fascinating network graphs. First, observe in Figure 1 how Raskolnikov and Svidrigailov's networks mirror each other, connecting them to numerous peripheral characters. These are characters who, while not central to the plot, play a crucial role in the narrative's texture. But here's where it gets interesting. When we separate these encounters into on-stage and off-stage interactions, a new dimension of the story unfolds. In our on-stage graph, Figure 2, Raskolnikov unmistakably dominates, interacting with a multitude of characters directly. However, the off-stage graph, Figure 3, shifts the spotlight. Characters like Razumikin and the painter Nikolai Dementiev, and particularly the enigmatic Svidrigailov, emerge more prominently. This distinction highlights Karol Apollonio's argument about the pervasive nature of Svidrigailov's character. He's central to the novel's rumors and unseen past, a mysterious figure who haunts the narrative's edges. Now let's consider Raskolnikov's narrative in isolation in Figure 1. His network isn't just about the main characters he interacts with. It's also about the swarm of minor figures, the drunkards, the singers, the incidental characters who collectively form a tragic chorus, echoing the novel's themes and secrets, often before Raskolnikov himself comprehends them. This chorus is instrumental in the unfolding of the novel's peripeteia, the moment of tragic reversal. Through this network analysis, we gain a fresh perspective on Dostoevsky's masterful character construction. Each interaction, whether direct or indirect, on stage or offstage, weaves into the novel's rich tapestry, contributing to the unfinalizability of characters like Svidrigailov and highlighting the complex web of relationships that drive the narrative forward. Thank you, Chloe, for guiding us from a different and very valuable angle. And now let us see how men and women are portrayed. In Crime and Punishment, Dostoevsky crafts a vivid tapestry of gender roles and relations. Men often emerge as assertive and rational forces, while women are portrayed with a nuanced blend of passivity and intuitive strength. This dichotomy is challenged by characters like Sonya and Dunja, who defies traditional roles to emerge as a symbol of resilience and redemption. The narrative is undeniably male-centric, particularly in themes of agency and violence. Yet women, often perceived as passive, exercise subtle but significant influence. Dostoevsky's portrayal of middle-aged women laced with satirical undertones invites us to reflect on societal perceptions and biases. Sexuality in the novel is predominantly viewed through a male lens, with characters like Svidrigailov embodying this perspective. In contrast, women are often confined within the age-old binary of saintliness or seduction. Drawing parallels with the brothers Karamazov, particularly through the character of Grushenka, we witness Dostoevsky's evolving understanding of female complexity. Grushenka transitions from a perceived seductress to a figure of empathy and compassion, revealing a deeper acknowledgement of women's multifaceted nature. This exploration encourages us to delve deeper into the gender dynamics within Crime and Punishment and beyond, challenging ourselves to uncover the societal and psychological undercurrents Dostoevsky weaves into his narrative.